Okay, all you should have been able to see the handout attached to manage stress on the website. And so Robin Dalton tonight's going to share with us some information on managing stress. There's no preventing stress, obviously, but hopefully managing in a healthy way to not cause cortisol level increases and more problems with that. So I'm going to hush and just monitor the chat room. Robin, you're up.
Hey everyone. I hope everyone's been having a good week and making some progress with your goals. And this week I am going to be covering the topic of managing stress. Like Rebecca said, we are always going to have stress. A certain amount of stress is healthy for us and motivates us to get things done, but too much can definitely have detrimental effects on our health. And if you're anything like me, managing stress some days sounds like an impossible task, but it can be accomplished with small, realistic goals, just like goals with our physical health. And thankfully, I am currently completing my behavioral health rotation, so I've had some very wise people give me some advice this week on this presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. And first, I just wanted to check in really quickly. I just wanted to see if anyone was able to make a small change from last week's lesson, whether it be from meal planning or another action, and if they wanted to share. Well, last week was pretty busy for me, but and I wasn't able to do any meal planning. But one thing that I did do was I managed to avoid the delicious bakery that is right beside where I'm doing my clinical. So I was pretty proud of myself for that.
I think we did better with our meal planning as far as making a grocery list. It was a text grocery list, but it did have everything together. And other than maybe two items, everything was in the fresh fruits and vegetables area for our house. So that was pretty good to have that all together. And it did make the shopping not take as long.
Oh, that's good. That's something we're actually going on vacation next week, but I hope to be able to get back to some good meal planning after that. And the next slide, we're going to talk about what causes us to feel stressed. And I know that not everyone is comfortable sharing things that cause them stress with a large group. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about that, maybe list some things that we could all relate to. The first one I feel like definitely everyone can relate to is usually not having enough time. Health problems, whether that be our own health problems or a family member that we care for. Money problems, which is something not helped by the pandemic at all. Conflict with other people. A new job, too many duties at our job, being unhappy with our job, and vacations and weddings, surprisingly enough. I know that we don't usually view those things as stressful, but we know that the planning up to that point can definitely be stressful. And family responsibilities. And last, I put this last for a reason, social media. I know that I and many other people are guilty of running to social media when we're stressed, but we know that social media these days can usually cause a lot more stress depending on the type of content we consume also. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about the relationship between stress and type 2 diabetes. Like we said earlier, a little bit of stress is okay, but too much can be detrimental to our health. It can change our body chemistry, which makes you more likely to get type 2 diabetes. And if you want to get a little more scientific, high levels of stress hormones like cortisol might cause the cells in your pancreas that produce insulin not to work as well. But the most the factor that usually causes type 2 diabetes even more than that is that stress can cause us to act in unhealthy ways, such as overeating. And I definitely wouldn't mind some participation on this slide because I know that we all have different ways that we react to stress. And I just kind of wanted to hear from everyone. How do you act when you feel stressed, or what do you notice other people doing when they're stressed?
I would say with me, I would say snippy or like short-tempered.
Right.
I agree. I get, frustrated.
What habits do y'all notice yourself adopting usually when you get stressed?
I want chocolate.
Can relate for sure.
Usually I feel like I have to have some quiet. Like when I'm stressed, I just have to kind of walk away and go to somewhere where nobody's around and kind of focus.
Well, that's a pretty good healthy habit. Anyone else?
When I used to work at state hospital with mental health patients on admission, we would always ask patients, what would be some signs that you're getting stressed, you know, that it's getting to you, and some people would say they paced or they, different things, but it was to them let us know so that we could pick up on if they were feeling stressed. And then we would also say, what is helpful to you? And sometimes they'd say music. And of course, we wanted to know specifically what kind, because we did kind of had a music room where they could be quiet and by themselves and listen to the type music that was relaxing to them. And I see a comment in the chat box. I'm going to flip over and see it said, since this person is 3 years free of smoking, her thing to do, has been changed and kind of converted over to food. And that's why she's here now. Because true enough, people a lot of times did smoke. It reduced their stress. They felt like helped them calm down. And when you take away that habit and replace it with another, because you never really can leave a void, sometimes, food is the thing. And it's just having to try to pick healthier choices, having those available to you when you're stressed so that you can quickly turn over to your better habit that you're trying to come up with. But smoking is a common stress reliever, people say.
Yes, definitely. Um, yeah, and I actually have on this slide a couple of things that you guys have already said. We forget things when we're stressed. I know that usually we have more than one thing on our mind at one time, and we forget things. Sometimes those things may be important to our health journey throughout the day. We put off doing things, even especially doing things that may not bring us pleasure at that time, like exercising or choosing a fruit instead of donuts. Rush around without getting things done. Drink too much. Sleep too little or too much. Smoking. Making unhealthy choices about what we eat and drink. Slacking off on fitness goals. And spending too much time watching Netflix or using the computer or the phone. And if anyone has anything to add to that, that's fine. Although I do feel like we hit on quite a few of these already. And this is another thing that I'd like for us to answer together. What are some ways that you reduce stress in your life?
I go for a walk.
Good, thank you.
I just have to find some quiet. Doesn't really matter where, just some time for just me.
Right. that's something that I used to do when I was working 12-hour shifts in the hospital for sure. I would I would like to just take a few minutes, no matter how busy I was, usually in the medicine room, and it'd be just about 2 or 3 minutes that it just had to be quiet with no one talking, and I felt like I could prioritize my day so much better and reduce a lot of stress just in those few minutes because most of the time that's all we have.
From the chat room, somebody wrote reading, which I did read the other day, can to some degree get you calmer, even a little faster than walking. You know, it distracts your mind. You're in the environment of the book. And so if you don't have the ability, particularly to go walk or do anything physical, if you have a book handy, just like a novel or something that would be not a technical book or a research book, but that could be very helpful to quickly take you to a new environment when you didn't have time to go walk.
I agree with that. And sometimes I even like to listen to a little bit of book on my phone, like using Audible or some other audiobook format, a way you can get to it quickly.
I like listening to music as well.
Yes.
And from the chat room, we also have to go fishing. So that definitely would relieve your mind. You get out in the environment and then you're concentrating on something you enjoy, some type pastime or hobby. Because a lot of times people kind of give up their hobbies. They're so busy, they have work, they have home duties, and they don't take time for those things they enjoy just because they enjoy them. It's different for everybody. But I think the pandemic helped a few people start thinking about, what do I, do in this spare time? And they didn't want to watch television and they didn't want to do some of those things. So I know people that have started, it's adult painting by numbers. We thought of it as children, but they actually make painting by number images for adults that are more complicated, but very soothing. So anything that's outside or artsy or anything can be helpful for many.
I agree. And as we've learned from our lifestyle medicine courses, also being outside increases your vitamin D, which many of us are deficient in. And, vitamin D can definitely have an effect on our mood and stress as well. We'll go over some of the things that I have listed on my slide here. Saying no, I know that that's something that I have issues with sometimes, and many of us do, especially in the healthcare field, because we feel like everything is important and we don't want to say no to anything, which sometimes can reduce the amount of time that we have for our goals. Asking for help, also something difficult. Keeping things in order, and that's something that I like to do, especially with my kids. The night before, I know that if I don't have everything laid out for my kids for the next day at school, that my day is just not going to start off well, and that I'm going to end up being more likely to forget something for myself that I need that day, such as the healthy lunch that I packed. Getting enough sleep. Having fun, which we've talked about. Setting the small doable goals, such as our SMART goals, and taking care of our body and mind. Has anyone ever used any apps or anything to reduce stress? I haven't personally yet, but I know that my preceptor at behavioral health this week, he recommends an app called Calm to his patients. So that's just something to keep in mind. I also believe there's an app called 7 Cups that can help you with meditation and guided imagery as well.
You
this is
can
just
also,
go ahead. Hello? Okay, sorry, I thought I heard someone trying to talk for a minute. But just a couple of other things that I put on this slide. Something that we tell our kids to do often, it seems like, count to 20 in your head. Taking 10, or as I mentioned before, taking even 2 or 3. Stretching in yoga, taking a breather, talking about your feelings, whether that be just with a close friend or a loved one, or with a therapist. Cutting back on caffeine. I know that most people think that they would feel more stressed without caffeine, but it actually does increase those stress hormones, which can throw us out of whack. And imagine a scene that makes you feel peaceful. And on that note, I was going to transition quickly into a guided imagery exercise. I had just 2 short exercises that I wanted to share with you guys. I know that we are, we're limited on time as far as learning a lot of new techniques, but guided imagery is something that I've used before, and something that the therapist that I followed this week at Behavioral Health uses a lot. So I just wanted to go through this with you really quickly. I know some of you may be driving and not able to follow everything, but I was just going to go through a couple of steps. And the first step is you find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Close your eyes. Next, start by just taking a few deep breaths to help you relax. Picture a setting that's calm and peaceful. This could be a beach, a mountain setting, a meadow, or a scene that you choose. Imagine your scene and try to add some detail. For example, is there a breeze? How does it feel? What do you smell? What does the sky look like? Is it clear, or are there clouds? It often helps to add a path to your scene. For example, as you enter the meadow, imagine a path leading you through the meadow to the trees on the other side. As you follow the path farther into the meadow, you feel more and more relaxed. When you're deep into your scene and are feeling relaxed, take a few minutes to breathe slowly and feel the calm. Think of a simple word or sound that you can use in the future to help you return to this place. Then when you're ready, slowly take yourself out of the scene and back to the present. Tell yourself that you will feel relaxed and refreshed, and bring your sense of calm with you. At the end, count to 3 and open your eyes. And that's the gist of the guided imagery. I know that some of us may feel silly at first doing it. Especially we're just not used to, used to talking about mental health and stress management. And I know that often I think that, my problems, or my stress is just too big for something like this. But these are things that help real people every day. And then next, the last thing I'm going to go over are breathing exercises. And this is another thing that some people may feel not very helpful at first, especially when you have to practice. But I've never presented virtually before tonight, so of course I was a little nervous before tonight. And this breathing exercise is actually something that I have been practicing. I'm going to try to share my screen, or actually share my video. Breathing exercises are one of those things that we tend to brush off because how helpful could it be? My life is too stressful and we breathe anyway. But these are exercises that can help normal people every day, to with stress and only take 15 minutes. My favorite one that I'm going to demonstrate is called box breathing. The steps, you inhale to a count of 4, hold your breath to a count of 4, exhale to a count of 4, and then hold your breath again for a count of 4. And as you go through each phase, imagine the side of a box being built. At the end, you'll have one complete box, and it's good to usually do these in cycles of 4. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate, even though it's very easy and probably doesn't need demonstration, but I'll do it anyway. That I just did one cycle. That you're free to do as many as you feel comfortable.
One thing I missed from the chat room was cooking as an option of stress relieving for someone, which is true, especially if you enjoy cooking and then you can cook healthy or learn new recipes. I myself, cooking is very stressful for. So what may be stress relieving for one may be stress producing for others, because I am so not talented in that area, but others are and really enjoy testing out new recipes or new ingredients or things that they found, and so that can be very stress relieving for many.
I have to say I can relate to that as well. I really enjoy it and get in the zone usually when I'm cooking and baking. And I've actually read some research about that. About when you really enjoy something, spending time in that zone in the flow. It's really good for reducing stress.
Sometimes people, they're not necessarily on purpose denying themselves enjoyment, but they feel that it's, I don't know, being selfish, or they have something else they should be doing, whether it's some type of work in the house, or that they don't see it as productive time. But I found through all my years of school, if ever I was not doing so well on my studying or not doing so well on my projects, if I take a break and go do something I enjoyed, even just walking, I could come back and my mind would be able to do the task better than before I did that. That I would have just rambled on trying to get whatever done, and it would take more time than if I actually took a break, did something enjoyable, and then went back to it.
Well, if no one had anything else to share for tonight, that was pretty much what I've got. I was going to just remind everyone too, though, that if they did want to make an action plan for a stress management technique, to do that, and just use your SMART goal format to do so.
Anybody want to volunteer up anything they will try over this next week between now and next Tuesday that they will do to try to reduce their stress that they have? Anything that maybe you learned tonight or you really have been thinking about wanting to do, and now you're just like, okay, they've given me a reason to, an excuse to, that it's a good thing.
I was going to say that if you have an iPhone, it gives you breathing exercises, kind of reminders throughout the day, and I have found that utilizing those on the iWatch, I'm sorry, not the iPhone, that they really are calming.
Yeah, I was definitely glad to have this breathing exercise in my tool belt today. I felt like it's really helped.
Miss Rebecca,
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't wait today because it is so stressful. I'm gonna do it tonight because I know I gotta send it in, But that has been one of the biggest things that stresses me out because I get confused sometime about why I'm doing this. And I realize I'm doing it for health purposes and the weight will come off and I'm not doing it to lose weight, but I get frustrated when I'm not losing the weight and it just stresses me out.
Well, I definitely understand that, but I would wait to weigh in the morning. It's always best to weigh after you've slept. So the time of day would depend on when you slept. So night shift workers would weigh in the evening before they went to work, but day shift workers would weigh in the morning when they first get up after they've slept, so that they will weigh their least. So that might help on that.
Yes,
But you're
yes,
right.
ma'am. I'm an overnight worker.
Okay. Uh, um,
Yes, ma'am.
as far as the weight coming off, sometimes that feels like it lags behind as you're changing those healthier behaviors and you don't see the immediate, but those healthier behaviors are overall going to benefit you. And then, like you say, the weight will come off and sometimes you'll plateau. What some people find helpful is when they feel like they've kind of hit a plateau on the weight, is to increase activity. So if you've been walking, I don't know, 20 minutes a day, increase it to 25 and then going up to 30. Sometimes that will jumpstart or feel like it jumpstarts the weight loss, is increasing the activity. And then if you see anything still within your diet that you may need to back off of and get gone, maybe you still have, I don't know, those Starbucks coffees or something that maybe have more flavorings and things that have calories, reducing back, just constantly kind of analyzing of what different can I do this week that will, in the end, make a difference. But like I say, we have the whole first 6 months to even think about getting that whole 5% of weight loss down and then only maintain it, because a very little bit can make a big difference in your health overall. It doesn't have to be a dramatic amount or what sometimes we even wish it could be to improve our health. But again, you don't have to weigh every day. You know, some people do. Every day, that's the first thing they do. But just the once a week will be plenty. And if you need to skip a week, we understand. It happens.
Anyone have anything else?
Well, Dr. Rayford will be back with us next week. He'll be back from vacation, so he'll be all stress-free and relaxed and can share with us any uh, additional information. I think he went camping, so he's out in nature and resting and relaxing with his family. So kind of getting a reboot. So sometimes that's what we need, but um, he'll be back and we'll continue on next week. If anybody needs anything between now and next week, just shoot us an email. If there's anything that we can do additional, just let us know.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.